I remember reading in Kate Murphy's book, You're Not Listening, that she explains how authors from the southern states of America became famous and very good authors. This in comparison to those in the northern states. And she says that because those in the southern states would gather and they would sit outside on the veranda, on their porches, and they would talk about life. And the ones who were clever would write them down, the stories. And I thought it was quite powerful, actually, the way that story writing, in fact, emerges in people's imagination, consciousness, and drive. In Islamic history, we have, of course, a great tradition of qusas, of people who would story tell. And there is a powerful medium in that, in the sense that people would take that medium of storytelling and incorporate within it noble virtues of Islam, like courage and bravery and mannerism and adab and ethics and honesty and so on and so forth. And I think that there is a need so much today for us to be doing that. I've written 6 books, alhamdulillah, so far. 5 of them, in fact, have been our non-fiction books. I've been writing for the last, 12, 13 years, alhamdulillah. And something remarkable happened on my journey of writing some years ago. And this about 7 years ago when I went to Al-Andalus, Islamic Spain. And it was during an encounter we had, not an encounter, but a kind of a meeting we had with a family in Cordoba. We went to a farmhouse, farmland, and we were informed that the owner of the property became Muslim in the 1960s and then chose to sell his beach house in exchange for this farmhouse in Cordoba. And he had this noble ambition and said that whoever becomes Muslim would have a safe place to stay. And it was remarkable that as we went in, we found all these reverts to Islam of different races and ethnicities, and they were cooking food for us and they were intermarrying, and it was a beautiful scene, subhanAllah. And then the son of that man spoke, gave a talk at the end of our meal, and he said that they are from the family of the Moriscos, of these cryptic underground secret Muslims who existed since the Spanish Inquisition. And I was so taken aback by the whole storyline of people who had to hide their faith and had to survive in such precarious situations and had to hide their books and all these things. I thought this should be told, that people should know this story, our kids should learn this story. And I began to pen my first words on the plane back, actually. This is going back 7, 8 years. It was a very slow process. Everything else I was doing was non-fiction and this and that I was writing. But then, subhanAllah, I was contacted by Quill Spy Publishers last year, and I was offered this assistance and help, and I just sent everything I had in terms of the manuscript to them. And they loved the storyline, the genre, and they loved the idea behind it. And alhamdulillah, I began to just write then to finish off in terms of the deadline. And the book now is being published now, inshallah, in this month. Why is it so important for us to think about writing fiction? What impact does it have on Muslim audiences? What can our kids do with reading fiction? There's in our world today, of course, so many books, and many of them are about themes that we don't agree with, or ideas that we don't agree with, or that are counter to Islam. In any case, our kids are still reading the books. There is a need for Muslims, authors, to begin to write fiction, to incorporate in those books those ethics that they hold dear to in terms of the Quranic worldview, the prophetic worldview, and so on and so forth. It is something powerful in terms of the use of imagination, of dreams, of ideas that are just developing, and sometimes you get the most weird ideas in the weird places and doing, like random things. And I think that when it begins to formulate in terms of becoming a plot or a climax entry or a plot twist, all of these things really help the author in terms of his writing. And observing the world around you gives you ideas. All of these things are very important. So one thing, of course, in terms of our kids appreciating literacy, appreciating the art of reading, appreciating the art of writing, appreciating putting down their formative ideas into books, even like young children, if they have ideas, powerful ideas, putting those down onto paper somewhere, into a notebook or something, because you don't know when you might need those ideas later on in life. And what I used to do, I use my phone for a lot of my writing, in fact, Samsung Notes. So whenever I have an idea, I pen it down on the notepad, on the notes quickly before I lose that idea. And then later on in the day, I would try and turn that point into a sentence, into a paragraph, and then inshallah into a chapter. So I think that we don't give up, we shouldn't give up on the idea. We should be patient with it and use our skill in terms of writing fiction. Now, there are, of course, so many ideas people have. A friend of mine is currently writing a book, Quran Malik, his name is, on Muhammad al-Fatih, and other books on poems for children and short stories for children. Very powerful writing material. And so everybody has a skill set. And the idea is to use that skill set and to put it into practice. In this case, I was never a fiction writer, but I saw the need. I thought there's such a need for Muslim children to know these stories. Like, how many times have we thought about that? Like in the Spanish Inquisition, there were, of course, were families. Many, of course, managed to flee and escape to the Maghreb. Many didn't. Many, because of like child theft and abuse of women, had to stay behind. And the story is about one family in that situation. I'm not going to give away too much because of spoiler alert. I want you guys to read the book Shadows of Strangers by Quill Spire, coming out now, inshallah. But I think that this is only one idea of a story. There are so many for us to tell, and in doing that, have a good intention, seeking Allah's divine favor, and to make Allah's word the highest, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Put your pen to paper, your ideas, formulate them, and everything is in process. You might not, for example, get it right the first time or the second time or the third time, but you keep going. It's not a race. You just keep going in life. And I think that if you do that, very effective. So therefore, that's why part of the reason I'm still writing, by the way, nonfiction. I have 2 other books coming out, non-fiction books. Well, one kind of booklet, one book published by Sapiens, inshallah. I work for Sapiens Institute. So that's still ongoing, but this is kind of on the back. I'm still doing it. I have another book I'm going to write, inshallah, come out, inshallah, next year as a sequel to Shadows of Strangers. So I think that, your ideas, put them in paper. And I think the words of Kate Murphy that I began with are powerful. People should be there telling the stories of others. And I think that if we do that, it will have a big effect, inshallah. May Allah bless you all.